You know what the average American man says less often than "I'm fine"? "I need help." And here's a wild stat. Over 60% of men say they've felt completely alone at some point in the last year, but most of them never told anyone. Not their friends, not their family, no one. Now imagine being literally left behind on Mars. Yeah, that's the Martian. But here's the thing. It's not just a space movie, it's a survival guide for the modern man, told through science, sarcasm, and some damn good potato farming. Because what Mark Watney goes through on Mars isn't that far off from what a lot of guys face here on Earth. In this video, we're breaking down what the Martian teaches us about resilience, mental toughness, and how to keep going when life feels impossible. If you've ever felt stuck, isolated, or like no one's coming to save you, stick around. This one's for you. The Martian isn't really about space. It's about what it means to be stuck, totally alone, with no idea if anyone's ever coming to help. And honestly, a lot of men know that feeling without ever leaving Earth. Mark Watney didn't get some grand moment of clarity or a life-changing speech. He had panic, he had duct tape, and he had dirt. That's it. But he still got up the next day and started solving problems. No cheering crowd, no recognition, just silence, hunger, and a decision. Keep going anyway. That's the kind of resilience nobody talks about. It's not loud, it's not Instagrammable, it's just persistence, like over and over again. It's showing up to a job you hate because bills don't wait. It's dragging yourself out of bed when your mind is spiraling. It's sending that job application even after 5 rejections. Real survival isn't some epic moment. It's small choices stacked into something powerful. That's how Watney made it off Mars. And let's be honest, that's how most of us survive Earth too. There's this one moment in The Martian that hits hard. Watney looks straight into the camera and says, "You solve one problem, then you solve the next one. And if you solve enough of them, you get to come home." That's not just survival advice for space. That's literally how you get through life when it's falling apart. Think about it. Ever been so overwhelmed that you don't even know where to start? Bills, deadlines, relationships. It piles up until your brain just freezes. But when you're really in the mud, like Watney was, you don't think big. You think, what can I fix right now? One broken thing, one small step, then another. That's it. That's the strategy. You don't need to have your 5-year plan figured out. You need to get out of bed, answer that one text, eat something real, fix the next broken piece of your day. It's not heroic, but it's how men rebuild. Not by snapping their fingers, but by stacking tiny wins. And when you treat problems like puzzles instead of monsters, they stop being so scary. Mark Watney had every reason to lose it. Stranded on a lifeless planet, starving and talking to a camera like some weird intergalactic vlogger. But instead of breaking down, he made jokes. He called himself a space pirate. He turned his nightmare into a twisted comedy. Why? Because humor is armor. When you're powerless, even a dumb joke gives you something to hold on to. A lot of guys do this without even thinking. You've probably made a joke about your burnout before telling anyone you're falling apart. Laughed off something serious just to avoid saying, "Yeah, I'm not okay." That's not being fake. That's being human. It's how you stay in the fight when your back's against the wall. Humor doesn't mean the pain's gone. It means you're still processing it. Your way, still refusing to go numb. You might not be stuck on Mars growing potatoes in poison dirt, but if you're cracking jokes in the middle of a bad week, trying to stay sane in your own chaos, you're already doing what Watney did, and that takes guts. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when the sun's out, when your bills are paid, when things feel stable. But the second life punches you in the face, when you're broke, heartbroken, burned out, or just done. Motivation packs its bags and vanishes. That's what makes The Martian so real. Mark Watney didn't have a rise and grind playlist. He didn't have a vision board or a daily affirmation app. He had a dying potato farm, broken tech, and a death sentence if he got the math wrong. And yet, he got up. He worked. He showed up every single day. Not because he was feeling it, but because he didn't have the luxury of waiting around to feel ready. That's what most guys misunderstand. Discipline doesn't look epic. It's not exciting, but it works, especially when everything else is falling apart. You won't always feel like going to the gym. You won't always feel like being emotionally available for your partner, or cleaning up your life, or sending that risky job application. But you do it anyway, because not doing it means staying stuck. Mark didn't survive because he was the smartest or the strongest. He survived because he built a system, a rhythm, a routine, one task at a time, one breath, one fix. Even when he was starving, even when it was freezing, even when it felt completely hopeless. That's how resilience is actually built, not from bursts of inspiration, but from boring consistency, from doing what needs to be done, even when your brain is screaming to give up. So no, you don't need motivation. You need a plan that still works when everything else breaks. You need structure that holds you together when you don't trust yourself to keep going. And that's not weakness, that's strength. The kind that's quiet, ugly, and completely unshakable. We think asking for help makes us weaker. So, like Watney, we try to science the shit out of life solo. But here's the kicker, even he couldn't do it alone. NASA didn't give up on him. His crew risked everything to bring him back. And that's the shift. Resilience isn't just about grinding alone, it's about knowing when to let people in. In real life, you break down silently at 2 a.m., scrolling instead of texting a friend. You smile and say, all good when everything's falling apart. But carrying everything by yourself isn't strength. It's how you collapse, quietly. Watney survived because he did his part, but he also trusted others to do theirs. He believed someone would come for him. That belief, that connection, sometimes that's the only thing that keeps you alive. Mark Watney didn't just survive Mars. He came back changed. And that's something most people don't talk about when it comes to resilience. We're so focused on getting through things that we forget the part where it shapes us. A lot of guys live with this unspoken belief. If I can just survive this job, this breakup, this failure, I'll get back to who I used to be. But here's the truth no one really prepares you for. There's no going back. And honestly, that's not a bad thing, because who you were before the storm probably wasn't finished yet. Watney left Earth as a scientist. He came back as a survivor, someone who had been pushed to his absolute edge and didn't snap. He learned to solve impossible problems, to adapt under pressure, to endure without losing his mind. That kind of growth doesn't come from comfort, it's earned in chaos. The same thing happens here, on Earth. When you go through something that breaks you open, a loss, a betrayal, a burnout, it sucks. It's isolating, ugly, quiet, but slowly, in the middle of that mess, something shifts. You get clearer on what matters. You stop wasting energy on people who don't show up for you. You build new habits, new boundaries, maybe even a new identity. You don't walk away untouched, you walk away rebuilt. And yeah, it's weird. Sometimes people around you still expect the old version of you, the one who tolerated too much, stayed quiet, played small. But once you've faced your own personal Mars, there's no pretending anymore. You've seen what you're made of. And more importantly, you've seen what you'll never accept again. So no, you don't come back the same. You come back better. Not perfect, not fixed, but real. And that's enough. You don't get a trophy for surviving. There's no dramatic music, no inspirational montage, just you sitting in a quiet room, realizing you're still here. And maybe that doesn't feel like much. Maybe you're still broke, still tired, still figuring it all out. But survival itself, that's a damn achievement. Because showing up when no one's watching, patching yourself back together without applause, that takes more strength than any highlight reel will ever show. That's real resilience. And most of us are building it one ugly, silent, ordinary day at a time. Mark Watney didn't become a hero because he escaped Mars. He became one because he refused to give up, even when it felt like no one was coming, even when the math didn't look good, even when all he had left was science, sarcasm, and a whole lot of duct tape. And that's you, man. Maybe not on another planet, but fighting battles no one sees. And if that's where you're at right now, you're not weak, you're not broken, you're just in the middle of your story. So pause for a second. Look at what you've made it through. It's more than you give yourself credit for. And wherever you're headed next, you've already proved you've got what it takes to face it. Because if you're still trying, still choosing to move forward, even just an inch at a time, you're already winning. Now listen, if this hits something in you, do me a favor. Don't just scroll away. Drop a comment, even if it's just a still here. Not for the algorithm, but to remind yourself that you're still standing, still pushing, still rebuilding. And if you know someone who's going through it, send this to them. Because sometimes all it takes is hearing, you're not alone, and you're stronger than you think. Subscribe if you want more conversations like this. Not fluffy motivation, not fake positivity. Just the real stuff, but for men who are done pretending they're fine. Because surviving isn't just something you do, it's something you learn.